I turned and found myself facing an attractive black man wearing a ridiculous white leather jacket with shoulder pads that looked like it had come from the wardrobe department of Star Trek. Yep, that sounds like a Jackson. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Let's read about Jackson family values. Child, this is Jermaine's baby mammy. I hope you're happy. You split up our family. Jermaine screamed over the telephone that day after I had left the Jackson compound and was in my new apartment. It had taken less than 24 hours for Jermaine's tears of sadness to turn into an outpouring of rage. I couldn't believe what he was saying. I had waited all my life for a family I could count on, and it had taken Jermaine and his relatives to teach me I could count only on myself. But an anger I felt at him quickly faded as I looked down at the two small, sweet faces before me. Jermaine had given me my children, Jeremy and Jordan, the most precious people in my life. Child, let's get ready. Ooh, when I tell you the tea in this book, ooh, God. I was born Margaret Marie Maldonado on February 21st, 1965, in Los Angeles. Italian on my mother's side, Mexican on my dad's. Exactly 1 year, 1 day, and 1 hour later, my brother, Willie, was born, just as my parents were in the process of getting a divorce. They were both still teenagers. My father, Bill, worked in a pizza parlor. After he left us, he became a born-again Christian, remarried, and moved to Oregon. My earliest memories of my mother, Joan, are of a woman with an unbridled spirit, a young, carefree, gentle girl woman who had difficulty assuming responsibilities for the two children she had created. By the time I turned 6, she was remarried to a man about 30 years her senior. We all moved into his house in the Hollywood Hills. Cy Gius was a decent, caring man who took over the reins of our care and development. He had children of his own, but welcomed Willie and me warmly into his family. At the same time, my mother decided to return to school and enrolled at UCLA with a major in philosophy and French. She used her studies as an excuse to travel, and she was gone more often than she was around. Okay, so, all right, that's basically my story too. The lady just told me my story. You know how we talk about sometimes you don't know yourself till you see yourself, and you may think that you're the only person going through things. This girl just read my story. As I left elementary school and entered 7th grade, I started running around with an older, wild crowd of teenagers. By the time I turned 13, I was drinking and doing drugs. First marijuana, and then whatever pills were around. That wasn't my story, girl. Friends that I surrounded myself with were not drug users. Like my friends didn't do drugs. Not that I'm judging people who did touch on drugs. I'm just saying that wasn't a part of my life early on. Not for me. Now, did I see it? Yes. My stepfather was concerned about my behavior and tried to get me back on track. But no one could tell me what to do. I was reckless, stubborn, and determined to live life on my own terms. I struck up a relationship with 16-year-old Scotty Wilson, the son of Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. His father supplied us with drugs and transportation so we could skip school. One day, Scotty and I wandered happily, stoned, into a used clothing store where, on a lark, we attempted to shoplift. Naturally, we were caught. Not knowing any better, I was pretty charged up and excited about getting caught. That is until I was taken to Central Juvenile Hall in downtown Los Angeles. It was a rough place and smelled like a sewer. I was sure Cy would arrive shortly to get me out of there, but he had decided to teach me a lesson. He let me stay for 3 days. I was scared. The experience made such an impression on me that afterward I went back to school and tried to focus on my studies. Despite my efforts, I still felt out of step with everyone around me. The urge to rebel was irresistible. I wanted out. Right after I turned 16, I left home and moved in with an older girlfriend who lived in a guest house at the top of Woodrow Wilson Drive, off Mulholland. It had been a stressful time. My mother and Cy were splitting up, and my brother had decided to stay with Cy. I took a different route. After burning out on the LA scene, I sold some belongings and scraped up enough money to buy a plane ticket to New York. No one tried to stop me. The only one I knew in New York was a friend of mine from LA who was now living in White Plains. As soon as I hit that town, I knew it wasn't for me. Manhattan was different. I fell in love with New York City as soon as I arrived, dazzled by its brilliant lights and infectious energy. Some friends fixed me up on a blind date with a man named Steve Heyman. I didn't know he was 30-something with 2 kids and an ex-wife, and he certainly didn't know I was 16. The poor guy thought he was getting a hot date, and he almost lost it when he found out how young I was. Bullshit. But he's a lie. Lies. The poor guy thought he was getting a hot date, and he almost lost it when he found out how young I was. When he found out. Girl. Trick-a-boo-boo. He turned out to be a decent guy and remains a good friend to this day. Once he figured out my situation, he set me up in a guest room in Regency House Apartments on Lexington and 63rd and helped me get a job in a clothing store nearby. Remember when we read Corinne Steffens' book, y'all? And we found out that Magic Johnson had been doing the same for Corinne Steffens. I'm like saying to myself, why the hell would Magic Johnson just get her a place to stay and just have her sit up in a room just for nothing? It's homeless children all over the world. I was making a lot of new friends, including a beautiful young woman named Rebecca James, who initiated me into the world known as Studio 54. To me, if Oz from The Wiz, not The Wizard of Oz, was a real place, it would be Studio 54. Oh, gosh. Child, but you know they shut that shit down. You can't have that much fun. Not when you got old ladies ODing in the middle of the damn dance floor. That can't happen. Even in Los Angeles, I had heard of the world-famous disco with its private VIP room and reputation for heavy drug trafficking. The place didn't disappoint me. It became one of my favorite hangouts. If you're young, attractive, and available, there's going to be a slick mover waiting just for you. For me, it was Johnny Calvani, who was Italian, rich, and well-connected with a wealth of celebrity friends, Jack Nicholson among them. He supported his expensive taste with his restaurant and clothing business. I met him one evening at his restaurant, and we soon became good friends. During this period, I had almost no contact with my family except for an occasional call to my mother, to whom I would brag about how I had met this celebrity, and she'd say, "That's nice," and hang up. In my own mind, I was becoming a big shot, and my world was about to get more exclusive and the treatment more royal. Girl, they call them socialites, girl. Adnan Khashoggi, the international arms merchant, was about to enter my life. He saw me having dinner one night with a group of friends at Mr. Chow's in Manhattan and sent a bottle of wine to our table. I smiled a thank you in his direction. He must have liked what he saw because the bottle of wine was followed by an invitation to a dinner party several nights later at his penthouse in the Olympic Towers. Ooh, that's money! Ooh, pause, y'all. Let me tell you a story. Child, one time, girlfriend, I had met this lawyer dude. Ooh, very powerful. And honey, let me tell you all he wanted me to do was to find a friend. Okay? Another attractive, beautiful friend. He was going to pay us $1,200 to sit in his house and watch him smoke crack. I was going to get Mick in on the deal. Mick, you want to do that? Girl, fuck no. The police might run up in there. Okay. Touche, Mick. I felt like a princess in the midst of this crowd. And as the weeks went by, I maneuvered myself into the center of Khashoggi's circle. The relationship with Khashoggi was never sexual. He seemed to be a man who could have had any woman he wanted and didn't push himself on any of them. Instead, he liked to surround himself with beautiful things, and attractive women were just part of the picture. I flew in Khashoggi's private jet anywhere in the world I wanted. As the trips increased, so did my fear that maybe Khashoggi wanted more than smiles in return for his generosity. It's coming, girl. Since I wasn't interested in having sex with the man, I decided to create a distraction. Let me tell you what this hoe did. She got a group of her most beautiful friends, but most attractive women hang around other attractive women, right? But she got a group of her most attractive friends and was like, girl, I got this dude, Khashoggi. We can hang out with him, girl, have a good goddamn time and spend up his money. One of them girls is finna pay for this trip. Not monetarily, but physically. On my next trip, a shopping spree in Paris, I invited 4 of my girlfriends from Los Angeles to join me. I probably would have never taken a trip except I was interested in seeing French actor Alain Delon's son, Anthony, who was the most handsome guy I'd ever seen. Unfortunately for me, I found out he was dating Princess Stephanie of Monaco. Damn. Foiled again. Our Paris shopping spree, my friends and I got back on Khashoggi's jet and headed for Las Palmas, his compound in Spain. The first night there, we all dressed for dinner in our newly purchased Dior gowns. Each of us discovered a ring with a smallish ruby in it on our dinner plates. The younger, free of me would have been like, which one of you bitches fucking him? Because if y'all don't want him, I'ma take him. Because, this situation is looking very glorious to me. And I want this to be a part of my life at least for the next month. Okay? That's how I would have interpreted the situation. They were over the moon at the attention that was being paid to them. Their excitement wasn't lost on Khashoggi, who pointed at one of my friends as we danced and said, I like that one. It was the moment of truth, and I begun to panic. When he added, have her come to my room later tonight, I knew I was trapped. You went, what? How is it you was trapped? You brought them girls there as a distraction. That's what you said, girl. Go in there with your friend, talk to her. Listen, girl. Listen. We can have these glorious nights going on for a while, girl. You like the ring, don't you? You like that Dior dress, don't you? You like flying around in the private jets, don't you, girl? Don't you? Okay, all right. Then all you got to do is just go in the room with her. Well, do I have to suck his name? No, baby. I'm sure it's other tricks you could pull. Later in the evening, when I told my friend about Khashoggi's request, her response was, not in this lifetime. Or words to that effect. There was no way she was going to do it. Not wanting to insult him, I went to Khashoggi and told him I hadn't asked her to do it because I wanted to be with him myself. Good move. Play a move, girl. It was a long night for me, but I liked Khashoggi, and he had been wonderful to me. After Khashoggi, there were other men and other excesses. My life was one of blurred images, wild nights, and occasional overdoses, all of which I tried to erase from my memory. I was out of control and needed a friend, so I reached out to Johnny Calvani. Despite his reputation as a party guy, I thought Johnny and I could get into a relationship that might be lasting. My timing was bad. He was going to move to LA to become a rock star. Gasping for a rope to pull me out of Khashoggi's world, I decided to go with him. We rented a house in Hollywood Hills. I had come full circle. I began using more and more drugs. The result was an overdose. Child, she had several overdoses. One day I did too many. By the time a friend found me, blood was coming out of my mouth and my eyes had rolled up into my sockets. Paramedics took me to the hospital, struggling to keep me alive. My memory of that day is spotty, but one thing I remember vividly is my brother coming to the hospital saying, "Girl, you look a fucking mess." So as a result, she went to a kick-ass drug rehab. Okay, she went to drug rehabs before, but none of them affected her the way that this particular drug rehab did. The rehab I entered was called Tumist, located in Venice, California. It's a tough place that caters to hardened drug addicts. I fit the bill. After going through Tumist, I thought I might be good at working with troubled kids, but before I could turn that corner in my life, I knew I had to become centered and self-sufficient. I moved in with my stepsister, Laura, in Venice and got a job. I had gone from the lifestyle of the rich and famous to making the best tuna sandwich on the Venice Broadwalk. I had a couple of good friends who were as happy for me as they were protected. Now, these are her childhood friends, okay? That would be Michelle Lang and Ketty Gonzalez. On January 17th, 1986, my life was about to take another turn. I was almost 21 and it had been about 4 months since I had gotten out of rehab. Ketty was about to turn 25. She wanted to celebrate with a dinner, a restaurant called Bastongo's on La Cienega Boulevard in West Hollywood. It sounded like fun. The place was packed. And as we were waiting for our table, a server came over and said that someone at a nearby table wanted to meet me. Michelle couldn't believe it. We hadn't been in the restaurant 2 minutes and I was getting hit on. Before I could say a word, she told the server on my behalf, "Thanks, but no thanks." "Oh, Michelle, you old hating ass bitch." A minute later, a short Italian man walked our way and tried the same routine. "A friend of mine would really like to meet you," he said to me as Michelle again jumped in to intervene. "Look," she said to the guy, gently pushing him away, "we're celebrating a birthday. We're here to have a dinner. Nothing more. Go away." "Hi," came a soft voice from behind me, almost drowned out by the din around us. I turned and found myself facing an attractive black man wearing a ridiculous white leather jacket with shoulder pads that looked like it had come from the wardrobe department of Star Trek. Yep, that sounds like a Jackson. I said, "Hello," and could see my girlfriends about to tell this guy to get lost when another server stepped between us. He told the man that some girls were asking for his autograph. They both went off. And I figured that was that. I didn't think a whole lot about it until he came over to me again. At this point, I knew he must be someone famous. In that jacket, I thought he might be one of the Commodores. "Girl, I saw you signing autographs," I said, trying not to appear starstruck. "Who are you anyway?" He said he was one of the Jacksons. It was not until later that I found out he was Jermaine.
Oh, my life.